Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, welcome everybody. My name is Logan, and I'm here today with Scythus and Amender. We're going to be debating liberalism versus anarchy. This is a server v server debate. Can't wait to get into this. Uh, Scythus and Amender, brief introductions. We can get into opening statements shortly after.
All right, my name is King Sithis. It's Sithis. It's Sithis. So just want to let everybody know that. Okay, so
Apologies for my mispronunciations.
no, you're okay, bro. I know it's kind of hard to pronounce it sometimes, so it's okay. I'm not breaking your balls in them. But anyways, I am a representative of the Nexus Discord. I am a huge fan of the Nexus Discord, and I am a proud moderator of the Nexus Discord. So I just want to shout them out for making me a part of this. I am a YouTuber, King Sithis. I make YouTube videos, I also live stream myself debating other people. I am an anarcho-capitalist, which means that I believe we in the non-aggression principle, which means that no one has the right to initiate an aggression. An aggression is the initiation of a conflict, and a conflict is a dispute over scarce means or contradictory actions. Scarce resources are a fact of reality, and because of that, we have no choice but to allocate scarce resources to individuals through private property rights. And the best way of recognizing or allocating scarce resources is through consensual ways. There's only two ways in which you can consensually come upon a piece of property, which is through voluntary transaction, which is I give you something in exchange for another scarce resource, or you give me a gift. Then there's homesteading, which is mixing your land labor with the land, which is using your body to create something from something that somebody hasn't already created something from, an unowned resource. The reason why there's nothing wrong with homesteading is because you're not because it's an unowned resource, you're not violating anyone's consent or aggressing upon anyone, which is an aggression is the initiation of a conflict, or violating a person's consent. In other words, violating another person's consent when they have not violated another person's consent. So any other way of getting your resources, which is whether it's through stealing it or robbing it or through any unconsensual means, would be an aggression, would be the initiation of a conflict, and that violates the non-aggression principle. The non-aggression principle is the best principle because any person that argues against it can't really justify it unless they think it's okay for other people to violate their consent when they haven't violated anyone else's consent, or have an initiation of an aggression over their body or their stuff when they have not initiated an aggression against anyone else. So if you have not harmed, basically, in other words, if you have not harmed another person, no one else has the right to come onto your property or violate your property, violate your consent, to harm you, or to force you to pay into any system, because again, that would be initiating an aggression. A lot of this stems from self-ownership, or what I like to call body ownership, which is essentially that you own your body. You don't come upon your body, which, because your body is a scarce resource, um, the right to control that scarce resource has to go to somebody. So if we believe, as anarcho-capitalists, it ought to go to the person who is inhabiting that body, because you cannot detach yourself from your body, and using your body doesn't violate the consent of anyone else's. And for anyone to use your body without your consent, they would be initiating an aggression against you. It has to be that you are the owner of your body. So from that, if you use your body to create something from an unknown resource, any person that takes that thing from you is the second comer, and they'll be violating your rights if you did not give them their consent. Anyone that touches your body, if you have not initiated an aggression, would be violating your consent, which is an aggression. So that would also include the state. The state violates property rights every single day by forcing you to pay into its system. It did not get its property through just means, which is voluntary transaction or homesteading. It simply claims land and then forces people in it to pay into that system. And that is an aggression, which is why, as a libertarian and an anarcho-capitalist, I believe we should completely abolish the state. And that's it.
Great. for your opening statement.
Uh,
Sithis, hey. Amanda, if you want to give an introduction and your opener, and I will start as soon as you start speaking.
yeah, so my name is First Amender. I uh, I am a debater in favor of liberalism and democracies, as well as me myself. I'm just your ordinary run of the mill Democrat. And I have come to the conclusion that in order to have like a better off society or a society that leads to better outcomes, we generally have to have something that establishes a monopoly of force. The monopoly of force needs to be created by something, and if it is not created, something eventually takes it over. And so the end result is that you either will have your Mad Max society, where you have people who end up fighting over monopoly of force, or if you end up with just having a government that is able to establish a series of rights that must be established to each individual, and that everybody pays into that system. I go in favor of a pragmatic route in looking at rather some sort of idealism that is supposed to be the best possible system, when the reality is that it's just an idealistic notion as to how societies would work, as opposed to how they should actually work or how they really function, and whether or not it creates a just system. I don't think King Sithis' positions are pragmatic at all. In fact, they are only idealistic and has no basis in reality. And so I'm here to debate him on this particular subject. I just think that he's just 1,000% wrong. I think what just needs to happen is that I just need to show him that maybe he would be interested in some semblance of a consent to being governed. And I think that's all that needs to be shown to kind of show that even King Sithis would agree to this. I guess it's up to me whether or not that I can convince King Sithis of this, though I doubt I will be able to do so. Hopefully the audience will at least understand my arguments.
All right. All
Do you
right.
wish to yield
So,
your time? Do you wish to yield the rest of your 2.5 minutes, Amanda?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Now we're getting into an hour of open dialogue. I'm here to take a relatively passive approach on this, so I trust you guys won't go too crazy. Sithis, if you want to speak first, you can go for it.
yeah, I would just like to know where I'm 1,000% wrong on, where I'm 1,000% wrong at.
Sure. So let me ask you this. Are you in favor of homeowners associations?
It would depend on how it's done.
So, like, you have a private entity called a homeowners association that requests money out of people. When they decide to live there, they go through that homeowners association and then they pay those fees so that way they can handle the exterior property as well as the local roads.
Not. I don't have anything wrong with that, as so long as that you have a way to opt out of society if you don't want to be a part of it anymore. And it has to be a consensual transaction between two parties.
Is moving an aspect of that? Would you say that a
Um,
way that you stop consenting to it is by moving?
well, that could be one of the ways, but you could just say, I don't want to live, I don't want to be a part of this homeowners association anymore.
So, a homeowners association where people made the decision voluntarily to live there and then understanding the contractual obligation, you believe that they should be able to opt out of that, breaking the contract?
And yeah, if you, it depends on how the contract is signed. If you basically, so transfer contracts are just transfers of property. So if you're transferring property from one owner to another,
No.
and in that, no,
No, contracts could involve many things. It's not just transference of property.
well,
You give permission to do a particular thing, and then two consenting individuals agree to that thing.
well, could you agree to a square circle, to own a square circle?
No,
Okay, so then
those don't
contracts can't
exist.
just be a, yeah, so contracts can't just be about anything, right?
No, but you can have a contract that doesn't entail the ownership of property. This is
Okay,
an
so give me an
example, right?
example.
The homeowners association.
So if I break the tail, like if I say I don't want to be a part of this association anymore, what happens to me?
They can take your property because you
am I
signed a
the
contract that
owner?
says so.
Yeah. So is it a contract that is like I sign it, you're giving me the property, and is I'm transferring my
You
money
have to
for the
pay these
property?
dues. If
Yeah.
you don't
And
pay these
if I
dues,
don't pay these dues, that
then they
then
can take your
basically
property, and then you, as a
and
consenting
I
individual,
agree to
signed it.
that. Did I sign that and agree to
Yeah,
that before buying? Yeah. Then
correct.
there's no issue to that. Yeah.
Okay, so there's no issue to the concept of an HOA existing. Cool.
No. Yeah, as long as it's consensual
So
and yeah.
yeah, so you would also agree
You're
that
basically there. Then you don't really own the house. I would say you're more leasing it on a. They're leasing it to you
that's
on a
not
based
true.
on a
You
condition.
still own the house. There's just conditions to
Oh
having
well,
that
then
house.
if you own the house, then to me, then you have the right to own. Do you have the right to do what you want with it?
Okay,
Unless,
but you also signed a contract for an HOA,
yeah,
meaning
then
they can take the
unless
house
the
if you don't pay
if does
the
the
HOA
HOA
dues.
own the house?
No, but in the contract it
Okay, so
says
then
so,
they
and you
can't tell me
signed
what to
that.
do with it.
Yes, they can. You signed a
If
contract
this,
that said yes. So
then
do
they're
you
leasing me
abide by
the house. They're not
contract law or do you not abide by contract law?
contracts. It depends on the contract. Contracts to
I gave you the example of the contract. So do you abide
yeah.
by
So
that
the
contract or do you
no
not
because
abide by
well
that contract?
if it depends on if I own the house. If I own the house, then I have the right
Yeah.
to you know do with it whatever I want. If
Yeah,
you're
you can sell
if
the
you're
house,
saying
right?
now, let's say if I have a
Can you
contract that
sell the
says if
house?
are you going to allow me to finish or are you going to interrupt me?
Go ahead.
Okay. So let's say you have a contract that says we're leasing you this house, and on the condition that you,
It's not a lease.
if you don't pay into this thing or you break this agreement, then we'll take that house back. Or if you you will own the house. Well, if you don't break, how could you? No, yeah, then they're basically leasing you the house.
No.
That's a lease.
No, they don't
That's not
own
really
the
ownership.
house. The HOA doesn't own the house. It's
Well,
only
then
if
they
you
don't have a
refuse
right.
to
Yeah, then
pay
if
the
they don't own
homeowners
the house,
association fee, which you would have signed in the contract.
yeah. So if they don't own the house, they don't have a right to tell me anything about it. If you consensually took my money and you in exchange for the house, I gave you the money, you gave me the house, and the ownership stipulates that I own the house, and I don't want to pay your fee anymore. Well, then I don't have that. You don't have the right to take it from me.
Why not? You signed a contract that says that I can take your house if you don't pay the fees. Because
Then I
the
don't own
problem
the
is
house.
that
You're just
the
leasing.
problem is
Then you're
that
just leasing me
the
the house.
homeowners association is spending the money on a monthly basis. The exterior, and maybe they could even have maybe it's a gated community where they have a security guard. They need to make sure that that money is coming in. Otherwise, they have to foot that bill. Right.
Yeah.
And so,
if you're
you sign the
leasing me
contract.
house.
You can't just revoke. No, that's not a lease. You still
Well,
own the
yeah,
house.
because I'm not the owner.
No,
The
you
owner
are
is
the
a
owner.
person who
You
has
just
to-
have to pay HOA dues if you plan on being in that place.
Yeah. So then they're leasing me the house.
They're not. No. Why are you stuck
if
on that?
ownership is the right to control a scarce resource. If you're selling,
Yes,
me, if
you
you're
have
selling
that
me,
right.
You're giving, yeah. So if I
But
don't,
there's a
wanna
stipulation to the ownership of this house. You have to pay the HOA dues because you're a part of the HOA.
So wait, that's a
so you can either
contradictory, though.
choose or not choose to do that stipulation. Are you saying that there shouldn't be stipulations in a contract?
What I'm saying is that if you're giving ownership to another person of the house, they have the right to do with that house whatever they want, so long as they're not violating the property rights of other individuals.
Okay,
not
so
paying it into an HOA is not violating the consent of another individual, unless you're leasing them the house. If you're leasing them the house, and that is part of the lease, then that's a different situation.
let me ask you
ownership
this:
is the right to control a scarce
Can I
resource.
take a contract and then sell the house, and then granting that contract to somebody else?
Can you sell the house if you own it?
Yeah. Can you sell the house?
Do you own it?
Yeah.
Then yeah, you can sell the house.
Okay, you can sell the house, right? So you get
Yeah.
rid of the house on the basis of a contract.
Yeah.
So a contract can sometimes have stipulations to it, right?
If you're
So
the
I'm
owner,
giving
have
you an
the right to
example of a
control- yeah.
stipulation of a private entity who is deciding to enter into a contractual obligation with an HOA, they have to choose as to whether or not that they want to agree by those standards. And you're saying because in the HOA, it has a stipulation that says if you don't pay the HOA fees, they can take your house. All of a sudden, it is invalid contract?
You're not really the owner. Yeah, because you're not really the owner.
Yes, you are.
Ownership is the right. Oh, the ownership is the right to control the scarce resource. If you are the owner, then you have the right to do with it whatever you want.
What?
To me, that's just a lease.
You said that
That's
you
just a
can
lease.
sell the house. You can lose ownership of a house on the basis of a contract. So why is it any different for the private ownership in an HOA?
What they're doing is they're leasing you the house on the condition that you pay into this homeowners association. And if you violate the lease that they're giving you, then they could take away the house.
Do you understand that
But
you
if
agreed to the
own the house,
stipulation?
if you own the house, then they can't. That's an invalid contract.
No, it's not an invalid contract because you can have stipulations in the contract, and then the reasoning individual, can decide whether or not that they want to sign that contract. I'm operating under that there is a stipulation in this contract that says, oh, you can lose your house if you don't pay HOA. On what basis?
Because contracts are based on property transfers of property. It's a title of property, of transferring one property to another in exchange for something
How is
else.
it an invalid contract?
Well, because if you are the owner, if you're exchanging that house to another person and calling them the owner, they have the right to do with that scarce resource whatever they want. If you then come in later and tell them they have to pay into, if they, on the condition of using that house, they have to pay into an HOA, well, then they're not the owner of that house. You're leasing them the house. You're renting them that house.
I have no idea why you're stuck on that. But even if I grant you that, that doesn't matter. The contract is still there. And I'm saying under a stipulation that
ownership is the right to control the scarce resource. If you don't have the right to control the scarce resource, you're not the owner of that scarce resource.
I'm saying to you that you have private individuals that are making, that have made a contract together, and that they are agreeing to that stipulation. On what basis?
I just told you, because of how a contract is a transfer of title from one person to another, and if you are transferring the title of a
that's
house
not
to
the
another
basis.
Person,
where is that upheld?
I'm not allowed to finish, or is this guy? Just
you can finish, but the problem is that that's not answering my question.
I am answering your question. If you are the owner of a scarce resource, you have the
Who's
right
to say it's an invalid contract versus not a valid contract? You?
Yeah, I am saying that right now, and the reason why I'm saying that is because a contract is a transfer of title of property from one individual to another.
So two reasoning individuals cannot enter into a contract if it's therefore invalid by King Sithis' eyes. Is that how that works? Or do you think that two reasoning individuals can enter into a contract with or without? And really, it's not up to you to decide whether or not it is an invalid contract.
It seems to me this is like a semantic argument.
No, it's not. It's a very important argument.
You're not even. This guy is not allowing me to finish a single fucking sentence.
I have let you finish many sentences.
Is this guy allowed to just speak over me? Because if he's going to keep speaking over me, I'm just going to leave, because this is just going nowhere.
I have explained to you the basics of this, right? You have two consenting individuals. They decide to have the contract, right?
Yeah, again.
And you're saying it's an invalid contract.
Ownership is the right to control the scarce resource, right? What is ownership?
To own something? You have...
what is to own something?
I'm just going to use the colloquial definition on Google, like what ownership is.
So you don't know what ownership is?
I do know what ownership is. I'm telling you that I would just use the colloquial definition.
Yeah, ownership is the right to control the scarce resource. Do you disagree with that?
I suppose that's a definition. I can operate on that, sure.
Okay, so if somebody's giving you the right to control the scarce resource, but at any time that you do something that they don't like, they could take it away from you. Are you the owner of that thing?
Yes.
No. How?
Because you signed a contract.
The contract is a transfer of title of ownership from one person to another, right?
Correct. So do you think that you can invalidate a contract?
Yeah, if you're the owner of that scarce...
Like if you break a stipulation on the contract? Why not?
Yeah, it would be an invalid contract, because if you are transferring the title to another person, that person becomes the owner Now, if you're leasing the thing to another person, that's a different story. But ownership is the right to control a scarce resource.
That doesn't make any sense.
I guess I
Also,
see you're
how
having a hard
exactly do
time.
you get this to work with like contracts in general?
There's a difference between leasing, renting, and owning things, right?
Yes, but you still
Okay, when
own the
you own
house.
something,
You are
when you
receiving the
own
equity on the
something,
house, and you are, by your definition, operating, having ownership of that property. But the point is that you have a
yeah, I just
this
disagree that's
scarce
ownership.
resource, which can be taken away if you break the contract, which
Yeah,
you
then you aren't the
signed.
owner of the
Two
house.
reasoning individuals signed. No, that's
If
not
someone could
true.
come in and take your
You can
property
take that
without
and
your consent,
sell it.
you are not the owner then. If
What?
somebody,
Hey guys, one
whoever's
at a
And
able,
then
time.
you
One at a time, you guys. Sit to speak.
if you are the owner of that scarce resource, right, and somebody could come in and take it at any point, then you're not really the owner because
based off of a
at any point
contract.
that person thinks, oh, I don't like what this person is doing, they could just take that property. Well, then they're the owner. You're not the
That's
owner.
not
They're just leasing
true.
it to you.
No,
They're just leasing it to you.
under the contract, they can't just take it under any stipulation. They can only take it if you break payment of the HOA.
Okay. So
And by the way, the contract, they signed that contract. You can call it whatever you like,
yeah, it's
but
an
the
invalid
equity
contract.
is still going to that individual, and they can choose to stop paying the HOA fees, in which case the HOA can take it because you signed a contract saying that the HOA can take away your house because you're not paying dues.
Yeah, that's not ownership. If somebody is giving you the right
What
to
does
own
it matter?
something,
You have two consenting individuals. They consent to a contract. Are you okay with contract law or no?
contracts are titles of transfer from one person to another of ownership. And if you own a scarce resource, you have the right to do with it what you want.
Why
If
aren't you
someone's transferring
engaging with
ownership,
this?
yeah, if the moderator, you're doing a
Guys,
really terrible job
Yeah, no.
of moderating.
One person at a time. Amanda,
But this is the
Sit to
last
speak.
time I'm gonna say this, bro, because this is getting really annoying. Ownership is the right to control the scarce resource. If you are the owner of a scarce resource, then no one has the right to take that thing away from you for any reason, unless you're using that thing maybe to initiate a conflict against somebody. But if you're not violating anyone's consent, nobody has a right to take that thing away from you. So it doesn't matter what your contract says; it's an invalid contract. It's if you're transferring the title to that person, they are the owner. You don't have after you transact and make the transaction. That person has the right to do what they want with it. Now, if you're leasing the thing to the person, if you're still the owner and you're leasing it to them, and they then violate the contracts of the lease, then you could take it away from it because you are the owner. But if you are saying, oh, this person owns it, but at any time they break this set of rules, I could take it away from them. Well, then they're not the owner. You're the owner because you are, in the end of the day, are the one who has the full rights over that scarce resource.
Yeah, I mean, you repeating it isn't changing my mind, nor do I find it convincing. The problem that I'm having with your argument is that for whatever reason, under this particular stipulation, two private individuals cannot engage into a contractual obligation, even though they both agreed to it, on the basis that you, King Sithis, find it invalid for whatever reason. Even though there are consenting individuals saying, yes, this is okay. So is it up to King Sithis or is it up to individuals to make that decision?
It's based on the definition of ownership. Ownership is the right to control a scarce resource. And if you're transferring ownership from one person to another through a contract, then you can't just add a stipulation. Oh, well, if you do this, I could take it away from you. Well,
the
then
stipulation was already added, and you have a reasoning.
Just let me know when I can speak uninterrupted.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. If you have a stipulation in that contract that says, if you do this, I could just take away your property even though you paid for it, well, then you're not really giving ownership to that person. You're still the owner, and that person is basically just renting that thing from you. So to me, it's not really ownership. It's an invalid contract. It's just a lease.
Okay, but you acknowledged that, I mean, you're saying it is an invalid contract, but I fail to see how it's invalid considering two consenting individuals made that decision. You can call it leasing or whatever the hell you want. It doesn't matter. You still have two reasoning individuals able to enter into a contract. And last time I checked, anarcho-capitalists are very much in favor of contract theory, and they're very much in favor of contract theory, especially when there's two reasoning individuals agreeing to said contract. It doesn't matter what is said in the exact contract as to what the stipulations are, or whether or not King Sithis thinks that this is an invalid contract or not. There are two reasoning individuals agreeing to that contractual obligation, and for whatever reason, you seem to have a problem with that.
Can two people agree to own a square circle?
I don't know. I don't know what am I supposed to do that?
I'm asking you a question.
What am I supposed to do with that? That's not logical. Do you see my problem here?
Can two people agree to own a square circle?
I already answered this question. Do you want me to answer it again?
Yes.
Square circles don't exist. Moving on.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason why, my point, hold on, let me at least make this last point, okay? The reason why I'm bringing that up is because simply because two people agree to something doesn't make that contract valid. You can say, oh, me and you agreed to owning a square circle, but it doesn't make that contract valid. Contract is a title of transfer ownership of a scarce resource, and ownership is the right to control the scarce resources. It's not based off of what I think, it's based off of these definitions. Now, you could say you're owning it, but ownership is the right to control a scarce resource. And
where are you getting that definition, by the way?
It is the definition, the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist libertarian definition of ownership.
Gotcha. So you're not using a colloquial definition of ownership.
Oh, no.
Ownership is the act, state, or right of possessing something. Does that seem like a fair definition?
The right to control a scarce resource. I'm not sure how that's much different.
No. I'm using. Okay, so you agree with my definition.
Is that any different than what I just
said? So
said?
you agree with my definition? Yes?
I mean, I don't see how it's much different from what I just said.
Do you agree with that definition or not? The colloquial definition, which is the act, state, or right of possessing something. Is that ownership?
Well, the thing is, possessing it isn't simply good enough. I think it's the right to control it or the right to exclude others from that
So
thing.
it's not an adequate definition. The colloquial definition is not
I think it's not as clear as the right
One at a time, you guys.
Yeah, I don't think it's as clear as the libertarian definition. No.
Really? That's very bizarre to me.
I mean, you could say it's bizarre, but you got to explain to me why their definition is wrong. You can't just say my definition is better than you.
So here's the problem, though, King Sithis. Mm-hmm. The problem is that you're operating on some bizarre definition that only like extremists argue. And I'm sitting here just giving you like, hey, this is the basic colloquial definition. And so and you can say, no, I'm not appealing to authority.
Explain to me why.
Because in order for your thing to work, you have to be in pretend land. And I'm sitting here having to operate in reality land. Okay?
Yeah,
and so I'm sitting, no, it's not an appeal to authority. It's the colloquial. That's how words work. When I say cat, you don't think dog in your head because like you read in some like bizarre theoretical book that cats are actually dogs, right? What you actually do in order to operate in good faith, you should be able to agree to a specific definition. And what's even better about this definition, when I said to you, the act, state, or right of possessing something, you said earlier, how is that different? And now you're changing it to saying, oh, it's not different. It's actually, my definition is better.
It's not my definition. It's the libertarian anarcho-capitalist definition and it is its most clear definition of owning ownership. So could you, as opposed to pointing to the dictionary and saying I'm right because the dictionary is right, could you explain to me why what I'm saying is incorrect?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that two individuals who are reasoning individuals should be able to enter into a contractual obligation with one another, and that they should be able to, no matter what that stipulations are, they can say, okay, well, we both agree to this contract. And then they say, yes, that is, by the way, okay with anarcho-capitalists. No, you do believe that. You should, or at least you should. Really?
Yeah, but you don't believe that. No, because Because earlier I asked you if two people can agree to own a square circle, and you said no.
Because square circles don't exist, but you know what does exist?
Exactly. So
A
if
house.
two people agree,
That
so if two
exists.
people,
So I'm talking
Yeah, so-
about it. I'm not talking about a square circle or the Sneetches owning the Snooches. I'm talking about a house. It exists. Right. And so here we have a contractual obligation saying you own this house. But if you want to own this house, you have to be a part of this HOA. And this HOA requests X amount of money every month. And if you don't pay that, then you can have your house taken away. Are you okay with this contract? And then both people go, yes, I agree with that. And then they sign the contract and then they're off to the races. Okay.
sounds like a lease to me.
Okay. Call it whatever you want. The point is that this isn't an invalid contract. Unless, of course, you take your name very, very seriously in that we really should stop calling you an anarcho-capitalist, but actually an authoritarian that thinks that you can tell what to do, what other people can and cannot do with their property.
I'm not telling anyone what they can
You
and can't do
are,
with the
though.
property.
Amender, let him speak, Amender.
Jesus Christ. He doesn't want me to speak because he knows that his arguments are not very well. But it is okay. In the end of the day, I don't believe anyone has the right to tell you what you can do with your private property, and because when you are the owner of a scarce resource, you have the right to control that scarce resource. So if someone could come in and say, oh, you broke the stipulation, therefore I could take your house from you, well, then you aren't the owner of that scarce resource. So because of that, I don't believe in that way of running HOAs. That's why I believe that's an invalid contract. Whereas you believe that if somebody owns a house, then some other third party has the right to come in and take that person's property away from them simply because they broke a stipulation that was a part of some invalid contract.
Yeah, that's on the basis of something that two people signed and agreed to.
And also
they agreed to that, and the HOA is there. The HOA has been there. People voted for it to be there, and you can choose as to whether or not that you want to buy that house on the basis of that stipulation. It's very simple. I have no idea why you're stuck on this as if that this is somehow invalid.
Because ownership is the right to control a scarce resource. And if you are transferring the ownership of a scarce resource from one person to another, well, then once they own that thing, they have the right to do what they want with that scarce resource. If they don't want to pay into an HOA, they don't have the right. You don't have the right to take that thing from them or force them to pay into it. So it seems that you agree with me that you don't really believe that every single contract that two people agreed with are automatically valid. Like, for instance, earlier you said that if two people agree to own a square circle, that contract wouldn't really be valid because the square circle doesn't exist. So just because two people agree to a contract doesn't make it a valid contract. What makes it a valid contract is a transfer of title of its scarce resource from one individual to another. And if you are able to take away that property from that other person after you've transferred the title of that property to another person, well, then you are claiming ownership of that scarce resource which that person owns.
Okay, but I mean, at the end of the day, you don't abide by contract law. You really don't. You think you do, but you don't. And it's very clear to me, and hopefully the other people in the audience, it's clear that you think that two consenting individuals cannot enter into a contract. No, that's not the case because we're not talking about square circles. Square circles. Square circle. Oh my God.
Can I declare I own the moon?
Square circles aren't houses.
Houses so let's exist. I got another hypothetical. Let's say me and you come together and we sign a contract together saying that I am transferring ownership of the moon from me to you. Is that a valid contract?
Nope.
Why not? But they agreed to
because
it.
Because there are treaties that say that nobody can own that.
Yeah, but they agreed to
that resource. But that's actually a completely different discussion.
But wait, they agreed
in fact, what a great segue. Let's go straight into
they agreed to that.
Who is defending the contract? How do you defend the contract?
Huh?
How do you defend the contract?
What do you mean defend?
You broke a contract. How exactly do you defend that contract? Is it guns?
So what do you?
Is it private? Is it a private court system? How does it work?
So give me an example of like breaking a contract.
So you enter, you break a stipulation, and then as a result, the contract is broken. And so something has to happen in terms of litigation to see how exactly that will get resolved.
What are you talking about? Like if somebody robs you or something?
Let's say you're paying into a house. You pay into a house, and you're paying a mortgage, and then for whatever reason you're like, I don't really feel like paying that anymore. Well, guess what? Somebody has to go and take that house from you because you are not paying the mortgage.
Yeah,
and so the
whoever
question
you
is
bought the house
how
from.
exactly does that go down? How because
well,
I know
they
how
could-
it works in regular
Do you
in
want to
real
know the
world,
answer?
but
Or
I
do you
want to
wanna
know
just
what
keep
you
talking?
Hey,
how you defend a
Amanda, let
contract
him
on your
speak.
end. I wasn't done talking.
It seems like he doesn't want to know the
Amanda.
answer.
Answer it.
Amanda, let him speak.
I was just trying to clarify what you meant. That's all I was asking. It's just all I'm trying to do, bro. Calm down. Take it easy. Just having a conversation.
I don't care
here.
about this silly meta. Can you please just argue the position?
Take it easy. So let's say you stop paying into your house. The person whom you contracted to pay into that house to would then have the right to return to take that house back, and you would have to return that money. And basically how they would do that is they would either do it themselves or they would hire somebody else to do it.
Wait, you would hire somebody to take the house back?
Well, yeah,
On what grounds?
on the grounds that they violated the contract.
So hold on, wait. Who's to stop me from just not letting you do that? Yeah,
Who's
I
to
got
stop?
me and all my buddies, and I'm
That's
just going to
true of
shoot
any-
whoever shows up there.
Not much. The fact that I'm going to go and kill you for, not paying into my contract.
So, okay, let me just get this clear, right? Because what you just said right here is vindicative, or it's not really that far gone from a society like Mad Max, right? Where you could just kill people unabashedly. And as long as you have enough power, nobody can stop you.
Well, wait a minute. So if somebody refuses to give you back your property, are you just supposed to sit there and be like, whatever? You can't defend that up
So
to deadly
in
force?
real world,
You can't
what
take your
happens is
property
that
back up
we
to
have
deadly force?
in real world, we have something called the government, which has the monopoly of force. So when you have a contract and you broke that contractual stipulation, they can take that property away from you. So the government comes in and takes your house and they uphold that contractual obligation. Your argument of, oh, well, they should be able to just defend it with force is not short of basically Mad Max. So if I have more
I mean, you could
force,
call it
I
Mad
could
Max,
technically
I don't
no.
care.
Well, but that's
one
what
at
it
a time,
is.
you
It's a
guys.
worse off society. The society is ridiculous. Nobody wants to live in a society like that. Go live in Somalia.
I
It
love
fucking
it.
sucks.
I would love to live in Ancapistan.
You want to live in Somalia?
In Ancapistan, I said.
That is an anarcho-capitalist place. Somalia has no government.
Somalia,
It has
I don't know
people
I don't
with
know. I
force
don't think
and
they're
guns,
very
and they
ANCAP.
just take shit
One at
away.
a time, you guys.
Yeah, I don't think Somalia is very ANCAP.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I would.
Is
I
there
don't
a
think so.
government in Somalia?
A lack of government doesn't make a country an ANCAP country.
What is anarcho-capitalism?
Anarcho-capitalism are people who, or anarcho-capitalists, are people who believe in the non-aggression principle, and essentially, and none of the people in Somalia respect private property rights, or have a strong respect for private property, or even know what the non-aggression
Yeah,
principle
because
is, or
they
believe
just
in
use
that. They're
guns
not
to get things
ANCAPs.
done. But but hold on, King Sithis.
That's not anarcho-capitalism.
That was
That's not
your response to
anarcho-capitalism.
upholding
one at a time, you
contract
guys.
law. That was your response. You're saying
Yeah, no,
that in
what I
order to
said is-
uphold the contract, you do so by basically killing people. And I'm like, okay, so that's Somalia. And you're saying,
wait,
well,
no,
they
what
don't
I
respect
said-
property rights.
No.
But that's the problem. That's kind of how the way that they handle property rights is that they just kill one another. So you're basically arguing a society that's not different from Somalia. What a ridiculous argument.
I didn't say that you could just go and kill anyone. What I said is that if somebody refuses to give you back your property when they basically violated the contract, and they refuse to give it back, you have the right to use deadly force in order to get it back if they refuse to give it back. Like, for instance, let's say someone's about to rob your car, right? And the only way that you could stop them is by shooting them. Do you not have the right to stop that person?
As a reminder,
How do you
guys
sit there
have
and
about
you
30
you
minutes.
realize you contradicted yourself in a single sentence, right?
That's not an answer to my question.
Yeah, I know, because you're contradicting yourself in your statements. You said that you don't have a right to kill people just randomly, and then you say that they do. So what is it? Can you kill them on the basis of contract of them breaking contracts or no?
Hey,
Protecting your
one person at a
property
time,
isn't
you
just
guys.
killing somebody randomly. If somebody
Can you
is,
kill somebody on the basis of them breaking a contract law or no?
It depends. If they're refusing to give you back the property,
Answer the question.
For the contract in which they violated, then yeah, you have the right. You can, and if they refuse to give it back, yeah, you could use deadly force in order to get it back. The same way, like for instance, like I asked you earlier, if somebody you own a car and somebody's trying to break in and steal it, and the only way that you could stop them is by shooting them, do you not have the right to shoot them?
What? No, there's proportional force.
So
But then again, I'm in reality world and I'm not living in Mad Max,
one
the
person
society.
at a time, you guys.
It's a pretty easy hypothetical to answer.
Go ahead with your hypothetical. This is just total nonsense.
I could tell you're not really
It's obviously
listening to it.
nonsense.
You're not listening to a
Hey,
word that I'm
guys,
saying,
hey.
obviously, because I said the hypothetical
Cool-
3 fucking times.
Cool
and
meta.
you
Now,
still
do you
don't
want to
understand
actually
it.
make the argument?
My argument is that if somebody is about to break into your house, steal something from you, and the only way that you can stop them is by using deadly force, do you not have the right to use deadly force to protect your property?
No.
No? Why
No.
not?
Because there's proportional force. If you feel that your life is in danger, then absolutely you have a right to
So
do
let's say
so.
your life is
However,
in danger.
if your life is not in danger, no, you can't just kill somebody
Okay,
because
so
they're
then the
taking your
answer is
property.
yes.
It's wrong.
So yeah, the answer is yes.
Hey,
then.
wait.
No, the answer is
One at a
no.
time, you
The
guys.
answer,
Okay,
it's
so then let me
literally
change
the
the
opposite of
hypothetical.
your argument.
So let me
Hey,
change.
one at a
So
time,
let
you
me
guys.
adjust the hypothetical just slightly. Let's say they have a gun and they will say, "I will kill you if you don't give me your property." And you say, "I'm not giving it to you," and you have a gun. Are you allowed to use that? Like, are you forced to submit to that person, or are you able to defend your property?
Is your life in danger?
Yes.
Okay, if your life is in danger, then yes, you can answer it with
Okay, so
proportional
then you agree
force.
with me. So then you agree with me.
No, because
So you
that is
agree-
in
so you
regards
support
to
Mad
use it.
Max.
No.
You support
Hey,
Mad Max.
one at a time, you guys.
Yeah, so what I'm telling you is that you answer with proportional force, not Mad Max, right? And again, what we're referring to is talking about the contractual obligation that has been broken. And the way that you resolve a contractual obligation that has been broken in your mind is a proportional level of force of killing them, which is not proportional at all, not even a little. Right? What we do is that we just have the government come in and uphold that contract. But you yourself have no way to actually uphold said contract. You
So you're
don't
saying
have a metric.
the government is the only way to uphold a contract?
No. You need a
That's what
monopoly
you're
of force.
That's basically
And
what
the
you're
monopoly
saying.
of force
So
ends
what
up
is this
being the
monopoly
government.
So what is this
One at a
monopoly?
The
time,
government.
you guys.
Okay, so then you're so basically what you're saying is the government is the only way
No.
in order to uphold a contract.
No.
Then you agree with me.
I
You
suppose
can have-
in theory, it could be possible in some bizarro world that maybe the monopoly of force could be something else. It could be, for example, a warlord. And then that warlord upholds the contract law in that area. Sure.
Wait. So
regarding a specific,
Let
regarding
me
a
use a hypothetical.
Holy
let
shit.
Let's say
Amanda
use a
speak, let Amanda
hypothetical.
speak.
Let's use a hypothetical
let-
where I trade you a $10 for a pair of sneakers. Do you need the government in order to uphold that contract?
Do you need the government to uphold a contract? Like if there is going to be a dispute as to like who owned the sneakers and like, who purchased the sneakers and whether or not a purchase happened. Yeah, you would need the government. Correct.
So it's impossible for us to just settle that dispute through a third party or another individual or like.
Well,
it
I've been
has to be through the
asking you
government.
that and your answer has been a gun.
No, that
Can you
wasn't my
answer then?
What?
What is it if it's not a gun?
What is your question?
How do you settle contracts? Who is the arbiter? How does it work?
The owner.
The
person who
owner.
owns
Okay.
the right.
Okay. So a gun. The answer is a gun.
Yeah, if somebody
Okay,
is
cool Mad
refusing
Max
to give you back
society.
your
That is
property.
completely ridiculous.
Yeah,
and
you have the
anybody
right to protect your
listening to
property
this
up to-
knows that it's ridiculous, except you.
Wait. So wait. How about this? Let's say somebody is about to come up to you and use deadly force on your body. Do you have the right to stop them?
Yes.
Okay, so then you think that it's okay to use a gun to defend property?
No. I never
No?
ever said that. No.
Is your body not your property?
No.
Then what is your body?
Your body is yourself, is your own, it's just you.
Is it a scarce resource?
Is it a scarce resource? I mean, I suppose so, in the sense that like it's
so
like
who
there's
has the
only
right
so much energy that can be outputted in like a
So who
human
has the
body,
right
sure.
to use that scarce resource?
I
or exclude
suppose it's
others from
you,
that scarce
but
resource?
I don't think
So you're the
people
owner
can
of the
be
scarce
property.
resource. Yeah,
I
so
don't
you
think
are
people-
the owner of your own body.
So wait, are you saying that you can? Are you saying that like you can have like voluntary slaves?
I never said anything about
No,
slavery.
I'm
so don't
asking.
come-
I'm asking.
No, you cannot
Would you
be a
be-
voluntary slave because
Really?
you cannot
Why?
detach because you cannot detach yourself from your body. Can
Really?
you detach yourself from your body?
No, hold on. But who owns the scarce resource?
You do.
Okay,
Ownership
so
has
can you
nothing
not
to do with
sell?
selling.
Can you or can
Ownership
you
is
not?
the right to
Can you
exclude others from that scarce
stop?
resource.
Can you or can you not sell a scarce resource?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so that would be including your body.
Can you detach yourself from your body?
What? No. But it's a
so then you
scarce
can't sell it.
resource, is it not? You can
It's
sell
impossible.
it. Why not?
How can you sell something that is
Because it's a
permanently
scarce
attached to you?
resource. You said you could sell scarce resources,
As
so I'm
long
giving
as-
you an example where I'm selling a scarce
whoa, whoa,
resource
whoa,
being
you
my own
can't-
body.
You could sell scarce resources that are not a part of oneself.
I want to, let's say if I want
It's
to be,
impossible to detach
if
yourself
I
from
want to
your
be a
body.
voluntary, well, no, I'm saying it right now. I want to be a voluntary slave, so I am selling myself to somebody, and
And
that's
not
it.
slavery. That's just
It's
a
not
job.
slavery.
How could you be a voluntary slave?
Oh,
Slavery is
well,
involuntary.
what I do is I want to be a slave, right?
And that's
So I
not
go up to
slavery.
somebody, and then they
That's just a
buy
job.
me, and then I walk along my way.
Is it voluntary?
Yeah, sure.
Then it's not.
But
slavery.
then, of course, the contractual obligation is that they end up in indentured servitude. So, I mean, I'm just saying, like,
nobody
okay,
has the right to
why not?
to own your body.
Then it's not a scarce resource, then, is it?
Because you
It's
are-
not the same thing. There's
So
additional
your body's not a
things to
scarce
this.
resource.
No, I'm saying that there are additional things to this.
You just said that your body.
You're
is not
the
a
ones
scarce
that were
resource, but
making
now
the
you're saying
argument that
is.
you were the
Is
one
your
making
body
the
a scarce
argument
resource or is it
Yeah,
not?
in the
one at a
sense
time,
of there
guys.
being energy. Yes. Under that
Okay,
basis, yes.
so who
But
has
no,
the
I
right
don't
to that
believe you
scarce
have a
re-
right
who
to
has the
sell
Who
your
Who has the right
body.
One
to
at a
control
time,
that
you
scarce
guys.
resource? Who has the right to control that scarce resource?
You do.
Okay, so then you are the owner.
Okay. So then
Of your
I
body, right?
take all of that I own and I give it to somebody else.
Yeah, so where in
Right.
owner's right to control a scarce resource does it say you have to have the ability to sell it in order to own it?
Repeat that. What? What?
Where in right to control a scarce resource does it say you have to be able to sell it in order to own it? Just because you own something doesn't mean you have to have the right to sell it.
Ownership is
Or
the act, state, or right of possessing something.
No, ownership is the right to control a scarce resource. If you are in control of a scarce resource, you are the owner.
So we're
And
just
by-
stuck on the same dumb definition.
You could call it dumb all you want, but you
Yeah,
haven't
because it's
explained to me
not
why it's wrong.
realistic. It's not
You
because
gotta-
it's not
okay,
realistic.
explain
It's
why.
not
You
real
have to
world.
explain
I
why.
explained to
Hey,
you
hey,
why.
hey,
I
hey,
did
one at a
in
time.
multiple ways.
Oh, no, you have not.
Yes,
You
I
haven't done it
did.
once. Okay,
Yes,
then
I
repeat
did.
it. Remind me what you said. Why is the right to control a scarce resource not a valid definition of ownership?
Because it leads you into bizarre realms of reality. It's not reality. It's just make
leads me
believe.
into bizarre realms of reality.
Yep.
That's your answer?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
You are operating in a make believe world of what things are to be. And the reality is, and I mean,
Are these
hell,
resources
it
not
gets to the
real?
point that you can't even allow an HOA to exist in your society.
scarce
Like something as
resources not
simple as an
real?
HOA suddenly flies in the face of your logic, King
Are
Sithis.
scarce
You're like, man,
resources
this
real?
is an invalid
hey.
contract on the basis of me, King Sithis, who is the king, who says whether or not contracts are valid versus invalid. Meanwhile, by the way, there is nothing actually controlling whether or not that the scarce resource should even be entered into this contractual obligation to begin with. How exactly do you uphold the contract? Well, it's a gun. It has nothing to do with any kind of like monopoly of forests or anything like
And you
that.
agree with
and
me
and
with
you're
that
saying
too,
that
right?
that we have to follow King Sithis in terms of like his argument of like, this is so fucking ridiculous. It's so stupid. I don't know what to tell you, man. This is just dumb. Like you have no pragmatic way
Just let
of
me know
actually
when I can-
upholding
when I can
contractual laws. You have no way other than a gun.
Okay, you agree with me that you're allowed to protect your property with a weapon.
No, I said you can
So
protect
if somebody
yourself.
tries, somebody
You can
uses,
protect yourself. And
you
no,
are
I
the
don't think
owner, and
people
you
are
agree that you're
property.
the owner.
I don't
Commander.
believe people are property. They're not.
But you agree with me that your body's a scarce resource.
People
right?
are not property.
Are you the?
Can people
are
be
you
property?
You are the owner of your own.
Can
body.
people be property?
To themselves? Yeah, you are the property
Can
of yourself.
people be property?
Yes, you are the property of yourself. Your body is your property.
You
No one else
realize
has the
you're
right to use that
arguing.
body.
You realize you're arguing in favor of slavery right now, right?
I'm not arguing.
Yes,
in favor
you
of slavery.
are.
You're saying that.
You just said people can be property.
Amender, let
How
him
could you sell
speak.
yourself?
Amender.
How could
Commander,
you
let him
sell
speak.
yourself? You're permanently attached to yourself.
How can you sell yourself? Because you're
Yeah.
the one that controls your body, and you can go and, like, let's say, work a job, right? But you're
So every
saying that
job
they
is
are
slavery?
property. No,
Wait, so
absolutely
every
not.
job is slavery?
No, absolutely not.
But
no.
that's what you're describing. You're
No,
saying
because
if
it's a
somebody
voluntary transaction. The difference between a job and slavery
then what
is
is
that the
voluntary slavery?
slave
one at a time, you
the
guys.
difference between a job and slavery is that a job doesn't say that they own you. What happens is under a job, you
I'm
could choose
saying
whether
that
or
it's
not that you
impossible
want to
for you to
stop
own another
working at
person.
that job. And when you're talking about slavery, you're saying that people can be property. That is the difference.
themselves,
now,
yes.
but however, I'm not the one saying that people can be property. You
Of
are,
themselves.
however.
But you agree with me
So
with this.
you are actually
You agree with me,
arguing
though.
in favor of
Hey, one
slavery.
at a time, you guys.
You're not allowing me to even ask you a simple question without going on this crazy dialogue tree.
It's
I'm
not a
really
dialogue
sure.
tree. I'm
Yes, you are.
following your logic, and the
let
logic
me know when I
is
can
that it
speak.
causes slavery.
Yeah. Hey, Amender, let
Every
him
time
speak.
he says that, every time he stops and allows me to speak, the second that I say one sentence, he just immediately just like rounds off.
Cool
That's
meta.
it.
Want to make your argument now?
Am I allowed to make my argument without interruption?
No, King First Amender
Amender,
says
let him
no.
speak. Well,
We haven't
I-
entered into a
I think I'm-
contractual
I think I'm
obligation.
good.
where,
King
I think I'm
Let's
good
go.
with this debate, guys. I'll see you guys later. All right.
Damn, bro.
Well, okay then.
You just piece the fuck out.
Alrighty then. I haven't had somebody walk out on a debate before. To be fair, Amender, you probably should have let him speak a bit, but
Bro, I was letting him speak. I was.
I mean, you guys have another 16 minutes.
It's
Should we
okay.
just let's just actually let's see if the audience has any questions that are able to be answered. Give me a sec.